And you are in good company because today we are diving deep into the world of anxiety.
We are, and we've got some really awesome guides for this deep dive.
Okay, lay it on me.
Marquita Mojica's ebook and workbook on anxiety.
And you know what really struck me about Marquita's work?
What's that?
She's not just talking the talk.
Right.
She has walked this anxiety walk herself.
She gets it.
She gets it.
Yeah.
Which I love.
Absolutely.
Okay, so before we get to the how-to,
Okay.
let's define this thing. What exactly is anxiety?
So Marquita actually uses this really vivid picture in her book, and it really resonated with me.
Right.
She talks about it like being stuck in place staring down a speeding train.
Oh, wow.
You know it's about to hit you, but you're powerless to move.
Oh, my God.
That feeling right there. That's anxiety's calling card.
That's intensely relatable, actually.
Yeah.
And kind of scary. How common is that feeling?
It's really, really common.
Is it?
Way more than you might think.
Really?
And Marquita actually talks about how celebrities like Missy Elliott have even talked about their struggles with anxiety.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. The truth is anxiety, it doesn't discriminate.
Okay, so it's good to know that we're not alone,
Exactly.
but I feel like there's still so much stigma
Yeah.
around it. Like, that whisper that anxiety is a weakness?
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. And Marquita tackles that head on.
Does she? Okay.
She's like, nope, this is not a flaw in your character. Anxiety, it's your body's alarm system just going haywire. It's a physiological response. And a lot of times it's actually rooted in our genes.
So it's not just me overthinking things.
Ah.
It's like my body's playing a trick on me.
In a way, yes.
Yep.
It actually all goes back to our cave-dwelling ancestors. So imagine you're facing down a saber-toothed tiger.
Oh, gosh.
Your heart's racing, palms are sweating.
Yeah.
That's that fight or flight response designed to keep us alive.
Right.
But the problem is that our modern day stresses, like our deadlines and our social situations,
Oh, yeah.
they trigger that same primal response,
Oh, no.
even when there's no real danger.
So we're hardwired to freak out over traffic jams and presentations.
Pretty much.
Oh, that's comforting.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of freaking out,
Yeah.
what's going on inside our brains when anxiety strikes?
So without getting too technical, there are two main players in this whole anxiety game in our brain.
Okay.
First, there's the amygdala, which acts like a smoke detector. So it's constantly on the lookout for threats, whether they're real or just perceived.
Okay, that makes sense. And then what happens?
So that's where the hippocampus jumps in.
The hippocampus.
Yeah, and that's like your brain's filing cabinet of memories.
Okay.
So when that amygdala, that smoke detector, goes off the hippocampus, is like, oh, let me find some information. Let me make sense of this situation by digging up all of these past experiences.
Right.
But here's the catch.
What's the catch?
It often pulls out the negative ones.
Oh, no.
Which just adds fuel to the anxiety fire.
Okay, so our brains are basically sabotaging us with memories of that awkward encounter from last week.
Pretty much.
Fantastic. This is great.
Not intentionally.
Okay.
It's just our brains haven't really caught up to the realities of modern life.
Right.
We might not be facing down those saber-toothed tigers anymore, but our brains still react as if we are.
Okay. I think I need to sit down for a minute and process all of this.
Actually, that kind of reminds me, movement can be incredibly helpful for managing anxiety.
Really?
Yeah. It allows your body to work through that kind of built-up fight-or-flight energy.
So when in doubt, just start running.
Well, it doesn't have to be that dramatic.
Okay.
Marquita suggests even a short walk can make a difference.
Now that's my kind of anxiety management.
Right.
But besides leg day,
Yeah.
what else can we do to tackle this anxiety beast?
Yeah.
What about those not so obvious symptoms?
Right.
You mentioned some real curveballs earlier.
Oh, absolutely.
Okay.
Anxiety can manifest in some really surprising ways.
Like what?
So you've got the classics, of course.
Okay.
The racing heart, the dizziness.
Right.
But some people experience tingling in their limbs.
Really?
Or even this really terrifying feeling of impending doom.
Oh, my God.
Like they're about to die.
Whoa.
Yeah.
I had no idea that was even on the anxiety menu.
Oh, yeah. Gosh.
And to add insult to injury.
What? No. These anxiety attacks can even happen while you're sleeping.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
While you're sleeping.
Talk about a rude awakening.
That's awful. Okay, night terrors aside, let's talk about how to actually get a grip on this anxiety beast.
Oh.
That's where Marquita's workbook comes in, right?
Exactly. It really does.
It's packed with all of these practical techniques for managing anxiety.
Yeah. And one of the simplest, but also one of the most effective, is breathing.
Okay.
I know it sounds almost too basic,
Yeah.
but trust me on this one.
Okay, I'll bite. What's the magic behind something that we do like a gazillion times a day without even thinking about it?
It's all about how we breathe when anxiety strikes.
Okay.
We tend to take these like short, shallow breaths,
Right.
which actually just reinforces that fight or flight response.
So we're basically hyperventilating our way into a full-blown anxiety attack.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, well, that makes sense.
The key is to interrupt that pattern with slow, deep breaths. And Marquita lays out this really easy 4-count technique.
Okay, I like easy.
So it's inhale for a count of 4.
Okay.
Hold for 4, exhale for 4.
That does sound pretty doable, but I have to admit I'm like the queen of forgetting any breathing exercise the second that my anxiety decides to show up.
That's why it's so important to practice even when you're not feeling anxious.
Really?
Yeah, it's like you're building muscle memory for your lungs.
It's
That way, when those stressful situations inevitably pop up, you're ready.
I like the sound of anxiety-proof lungs.
There you go.
Okay, so we got breathing down.
Okay.
What about all of the mental gymnastics anxiety loves to put us through?
Oh, yeah, the mental games. Well, Marquita talks about the power of positive self-talk.
Okay,
And I know it can sound a little cheesy at
a
first,
little bit, yeah.
like something you'd find on a motivational poster.
With the sunset in the background.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. Those cheesy affirmations, they work.
Really?
Yeah. Our thoughts have such a powerful effect on how we feel.
Okay.
If you're constantly bombarded by your own inner critic, it's no wonder you feel anxious.
So instead of saying, I can't handle this, it's more like, bring it on, anxiety. I've got this.
You got it.
Okay.
And Marquita suggests creating your own personal affirmations
Okay.
because it makes them so much more meaningful and
Yeah.
easier to connect with.
Okay, so instead of generic motivational quotes, I need like a personal pep talk on demand.
Exactly.
Okay, I can work with that.
One of my favorites from the book is this feeling will pass. Because it's true, anxiety is always temporary, even though it might not feel like it in the moment.
That's a really good point.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got breathing, we've got positive self-talk.
Mm.
What else is in Marquita's anxiety-busting toolkit?
This one might surprise you, but quality sleep is actually a secret weapon against anxiety.
Wait, really?
Yeah.
I mean, I definitely notice when I'm stressed, I don't sleep well.
Yeah.
But I never thought of it as something that could actually make the anxiety worse.
It's a two-way street.
Is it really?
Yeah. Lack of sleep throws your body's entire stress response system out of whack,
Oh, no.
which leads to more anxiety.
Of course it does.
And then that anxiety makes it even harder to sleep.
Oh, gosh.
So it creates this like vicious cycle.
So I'm not just imagining things, bad sleep equals a more anxious me.
Pretty much.
Okay, that explains a lot,
The
actually.
good news is you can totally break the cycle.
Okay, good. How?
Marquita talks all about sleep hygiene.
Sleep hygiene, what is that?
So it's things like sticking to a consistent sleep schedule,
Okay,
creating a relaxing bedtime routine,
okay.
even like what you're eating and drinking before bed can have an impact.
Interesting.
She even includes this really handy sleep tracker in her workbook.
A sleep tracker. Does it analyze your dreams for signs of impending doom, too?
Not quite,
Okay,
but it does help you kind of spot patterns in your sleep
okay.
and identify any potential disruptors.
That's actually really smart.
Yeah.
Okay, so we're prioritizing sleep, which, let's be real, is always a good idea.
Always a good idea.
But what about those anxiety landmines that we can't always see coming?
Yes.
Those sneaky triggers?
Yes. That's where things get really interesting.
Okay.
Marquita dedicates a whole section to unmasking those triggers.
Okay.
And some of them might surprise you.
Oh, do tell.
Hey.
I live for a good plot twist, especially when it comes to outsmarting my own anxiety. Okay, so hit me with those surprise triggers. What's lurking in the shadows of my morning routine?
Well, remember how we were talking about that fight or flight response?
Yeah.
Turns out our favorite morning pick-me-up,
Don't you dare,
coffee.
can actually trigger it?
Are you telling me my beloved coffee could be fueling my anxiety?
It's a real possibility. Caffeine is a stimulant,
Right.
and too much of it can really send your nervous system into overdrive,
Oh, no.
which can mimic those anxious feelings.
That actually explains a lot.
Right.
Maybe I'll experiment with decaf and see if it makes a difference.
There you go.
But what about those times when you're not just like caffeinated, but
Yeah.
you're like, actually haven't eaten in a while?
Yeah,
Could that be an anxiety trigger too?
you're onto something.
Okay.
Marquita talks about how skipping meals can really mess with your blood sugar levels.
Okay.
And that can actually manifest as anxiety.
Really?
Yeah, and it goes back to those primal instincts.
Okay.
So when our ancestors' blood sugar dipped, it meant that they needed to find food fast.
Oh,
It
God.
was a survival mechanism.
So my hanger is just my inner cave dweller freaking out about missing a meal.
Pretty much.
That's hilarious.
It's kind of funny when you think about it that way.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
Okay.
Sometimes these tools and tricks,
Right.
they're not enough.
At what point do we need to acknowledge that we might need professional help?
That is such an important question.
Yeah.
And it really is different for everyone.
Right.
But one thing that Marquita really emphasizes is that there's no shame in seeking help.
Of course not.
If anything, it's a sign of strength and
Yeah.
self-awareness.
It's like going to the doctor when you have a physical health issue.
Exactly.
We don't hesitate to seek out professional help for our bodies.
Right.
So why should our mental health be any different?
Exactly. And there are so many resources available.
There are.
From therapy to support groups. Marquita even talks about this really great, what was it called? Cognitive behavioral therapy?
CBT.
CBT, yes.
Yeah.
Which can really help you identify and then hopefully change those negative thought patterns.
Right. It's like rewiring those anxiety circuits in your brain.
Exactly.
I know medication is not for everyone,
Of course.
but it can be life-changing for some people who struggle with anxiety.
Absolutely. It's all about finding what works best for you.
Right.
But I think the key takeaway here is that you're not alone in this journey.
Not at all.
Hmm.
Okay, so let's recap what we learned today. Anxiety, it's incredibly common.
Yes.
It is not a character flaw,
No.
and there are tons of ways to manage it. We can literally breathe our way to calm.
Yes.
We can reframe those negative thoughts, and we can even prioritize getting enough sleep.
All important things.
Right.
Yes.
And perhaps, most importantly, we've learned that knowledge really is power.
It is.
The more we understand about anxiety, the less power it has over us.
I love that.
I do too. But here's a final thought for you to ponder. We've talked about how different people experience anxiety,
Very well.
you know, from Missy Elliott to like our own personal experiences. But how do you think societal factors,
Yeah.
like our always-on culture
Right.
or social media pressures,
Yes.
might be contributing to the rise of anxiety these days?
Oh, that's a great question.
Right.
It makes you wonder, like, how much our environment
Yeah.
and the messages that we're constantly bombarded with, how much is that shaping our mental well-being?
It's a lot to think about.
It is.
And hey, listeners, we want to hear from you. What strategies have you found helpful in your anxiety journeys?
Yeah.
Share your thoughts and experiences with us on social media using #TheDeepDive.
Love it.
Until next time, stay curious and keep exploring those